Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Fireball Mullet channel. I'm Stan Kennedy, and first of all I want to thank all the new subscribers. I couldn't do this without you, so thanks again from really the bottom of my heart, guys. We got some really exciting stuff. So today's video, we're actually gonna, we're getting close to this blower install, and you know, I'm kind of saving up and buying parts a little bit at a time. So as you know, as we kind of get the cash, kind of buy some parts little by little. But today is pretty cool because I actually have most, quote unquote, most of the fuel system. So let's dive right into it. All right guys, so check it out. We do have most of our parts. I missed actually a couple of fittings, but really my original plan was to keep a lot of the 3rd gen fuel system with the 4th gen tank and just run the return line up to a boost reference regulator. Plans change. I decided to go with a flex fuel E85 content sensor. So since I'm doing the E85, I wanted to upgrade everything with the ptfe, which is really the plastic lining fuel hose. So I took out the steel stuff, I took out any rubber stuff, and well, I say took out, we're going to do that in a subsequent video when we actually go through and install this system. Today's video, I want to kind of show you some of the parts we're going to use. And again, I'm waiting for a couple more parts that were kind of back ordered, but I think they're going to be here next week. So we're actually going to start diving into it and get this fuel system all ready. So let me show you a little bit about what I have. All right guys, well, here are most of the most important parts. And I'll take you through each one of these in a minute. We got everything ready and we're gonna be installing this fuel system. It's gonna be awesome on E85. I can't wait. And you know, I originally wasn't gonna do E85. I was gonna do meth injection. I still may do both, but I'm kind of leaning towards just doing E85. The biggest decision for me was that I'm able with this ECM to do a flex fuel sensor. So if I'm not, you know, near a gas station and I want to run 91 or 93 octane, then I just put it in there and the mix kind of comes down. And the way they will tune it, I'm actually going to get Faster Proms to tune it, Jeremy there. So started some communication with those guys. Super excited to get it there on the rollers eventually. I'm hoping February, sometime in February, we get this thing all dialed in. So my decision right now, at least I need to go ahead, redo the fuel system and, you know, kind of replace everything and make sure it's up to par and make sure it can handle the system. I think we've got enough here to handle the horsepower that we're probably planning on. And, you know, I have no idea. And honestly, you guys that watch my video, you know, I don't really care about numbers. You know, anything from 600 to 700, you know, it's just going to be spinning anyway. So, you know, if it's somewhere in that range, I think it would be a badass ride. So let's go through some of these things here. The first thing is I went ahead and got a fuel pressure. This is a regulator that has the boost reference port right here. And the way that works is we'll have the gauge, which is right here. I'll show you that in a minute. That's going to go right where this plug is. The way I'm understanding it is that will need a little bit of that Teflon tape on that since it's NPT, I believe. And then we have the boost reference port here. Now I think that's going to actually go to this one right here. I think it's going to go to that port, which will be kind of your vacuum for your HVAC for this, and I'll kind of tee off and do that to the boost gauge. So I think this is going to be the main boost vacuum sort of port here. I know that the vacuum controller here controls this bypass. That gets switched and actually gets run to this. On the CTSVs and Z01s, it actually is going to this port, but we're going to change that and run it to this port here. So anyway, that's what this port is for. And the idea with this regulator is as you get into boost and you require more fuel, it will actually raise the fuel pressure for the system. So pretty cool. I think that's going to suffice for this build. And I know a few guys that are running this kind of in that horsepower range, so I know this is going to do the deal. Then you have a couple ports here. These were the way it works is you got an AN to a ORB or orb. I think it's an O-ring port. So I had to buy some adapter fittings for that. And then that's where the return's going to come in. So for the return, we're going to go ahead and run that at the bottom. So that'll be cool. So that's that, and this is of course the gauge. That's the gauge. And that will actually, like I said, we'll put a little Teflon tape on that, and that's gonna go bam, right there. So that's gonna be pretty daggone cool. And I also have some injectors, and to be honest with you, I didn't buy a whole set at one time, so I just order one every so often. So I'm about halfway there. I have 4. And so hopefully by the time I'm ready, I'll go ahead. Now these are, for my plans, I think this is gonna work. These are the 850s. And it also has the 80-pound 850 ccc by fuel injector connection. You can see that. Pretty daggone cool. So I think that's enough injector for this build. And E85, I think it should be good. I originally planned to do this with meth. Meth, you're gonna, have less fuel requirements because you have the meth injected. So it actually, you don't use as much, there's not so much demand on the fuel system. So I may be pushing it, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Everything that I have some friends that are running very similar for this horsepower range on E85. I kind of talked to the tuner, and it looks like this is going to work. Now, so kind of taking it from there, from the front to the back, obviously we got a couple different hoses. Now, this is going to be my return line. So the stock return lines on these cars are they're 5/16 inch, and so this, I went ahead and upgraded it to a 3/8 or a -6 for the return. So we should have a bigger return system coming back, which is cool. So that's going to be, and you can see here, that's the plastic or the ptfe, right, that can handle E85. You don't want to use just regular fuel lines for this. It has to be able to withstand the ethanol content. So then I also have a -8, which I haven't opened this up yet, but this is going to be for the feed line. Now originally I was going to do it all -6, but after talking to some guys, I decided to go ahead and upgrade this to the -8. So we'll see how that goes. I think that's going to be plenty. -8, -6 on the return, and we're all good. So, I've got 20 feet of each one of those, so I should have plenty there. We're also, and then obviously, like I said, here's sort of the fittings for, this is going to be the ORB, right? This goes into the regulator, out to the -8, and then I got a bunch of -8 fittings here. These are hose ends for the -8. The only thing I don't have right now is the fuel filter, and I got the
and I've got the Deechworks. I don't know how you say it, but I'll show you a picture of it. And it's supposed to be a pretty nice, it's a 10 micron, which is supposed to be what you use for fuel injection type motors when it's after the pump, right? So which the pump in my case is going to be in the tank, just like most of them are. And then we'll have the filter, and I'm just going to mount it pretty much where the 3rd and 4th gen filters mount. So that's going to be about the same spot. So I'll have to cut it, use some -8 hose ends here. I also have the EFI fittings here, and these are the ones that are actually going to snap into. Now I have a 4th gen 99 through 2002 fuel tank. That is, it's different than the 3rd gen tank. It actually has the EFI connections, the little plastic connections that go to the sender. So that's pretty much done. There's a 3/8 and a 5/16. We went ahead and just got the -8 to the 3/8 EFI connection there. We're gonna send it. We're gonna go with that. And we also have the -6 to the 5/16 EFI connection at the tank. So that's going to be really at the tank there. I also have to get the E85 content sensor. I did some research, and those content sensors in a package with the harness and the sensor and the fittings, they're anywhere from like 150 to 350 bucks. And I just don't get the math with that. I mean, anybody messing with this stuff, you should be able to do a simple wiring harness and a few fittings. So I just don't get, I guess some people, maybe they have, modern, sort of cars, and they don't really do too much to it, and they're just adding E85 and they just want to snap it in 10 minutes. I get that, but damn, for that amount of money, it's crazy to me. So we're going to do a DIY on the content sensor, make sure we get a good GM sensor that's, known to work well. We've kind of gotten to the tank now, and from there, so here's the pump I went ahead and went with. Now again, I have the 4th gen. Let me take this out. All right, so here's the fuel pump. Now, I went ahead and decided to get the 525 hellcat pump. It's supposed to be super strong. So I think this is going to do the trick for me. Even on E85, I think it's going to be fine with the -8 line. So we'll go ahead and put that in. Now, again, I have the 4th gen tank. It has the bucket, right? So the fuel bucket in those, which is something that I love. And from what I'm researching, once I pull that bucket out, it sounds like I'm not going to be able to, use that stock bucket like it is. I may have to modify the bottom of it if this thing doesn't fit in there. So I'm a little disappointed in that because, man, I just love the 4th gen tank, how you go around a corner and it actually doesn't slosh and star fuel like a 3rd gen. If I have problems with that, then I know Holley actually just came out with like a mat that, or I forget what they call it, sort of a bladder mesh that actually will keep the fuel from sloshing around, some type of baffle that goes in the bottom of the tank. That thing's pretty cool. So, I'll probably do that if I have problems with that. So you definitely don't want to lean out. Being low on gas. So I guess the fix is make sure you at least keep, a quarter tank in it, I guess. Kind of what the fuel pump install kit as well. So it's got the connector, again, the plastic tube that'll support E85. This pump is also built for E85. So some of them aren't. So if you're considering it, make sure that it's built to withstand the E85. The same thing with the fuel filter that I mentioned, the Deechworks. That is also, it has a stainless cartridge filter. So it's also built for E85, is why I'm switching all that over as well. So I didn't realize how much all this would be, man, to be honest with you, because I thought I was going to get away pretty cheap on my fuel system just because I have it mostly done. But because of E85, I decided just to redo the whole thing. So I also have the Racetronics hot wire kit that's already in my car. So that has the upgrading relay that actually runs to the alternator and gives you a lot more voltage and power to the pump, which is something that you really need to make sure you do. These wires are actually, they look smaller, so I may end up depinning or seeing if this connector will use with my existing pump. I gotta figure that part out. So I'm a little bummed if I gotta modify that bucket, because man, I just really love that functionality of it. So I guess we'll figure that out when we install it. So that is pretty much everything. You know, we've got everything set up. Got, you know, I think the fuel system is going to handle for the power that we're going to be delivering it. And I feel, man, this is getting close, right? So I really think this fuel system is going to be the ticket. Guys, we're getting close. We're getting super close. This is the last phase, really. The only other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to powder coat, and I think I'm actually not even going to powder coat it, because I have heard that unless you disassemble the whole thing, I would be a little nervous with the bearings and the clearances when they actually bake it. Some guys probably just send it, but I think for me, I'm just going to have it custom painted, and we're going to figure out what color we're going to do that. So that's going to be after the fuel system. The only other mod I need to do is I need to go ahead and put the AFR gauge. So I need to get a wideband for this, something that you want to do. That's super important. Then I'm going to borrow a buddy of mine's HP tuners, and we're going to go ahead, dial all the timing down, get this blower done, and start logging, do some AFR, and probably I'm going to get it where I can at least start it, do some light driving, some really safe kind of pulls, and just kind of dial it in. Then I just want to make sure that before I take it to the tuner, it's dialed in. I don't have any fuel pressure issues. I can see that it's not losing fuel pressure, when it's deep, and just make sure the belt's aligned. All those different checks that I want to make sure I do before I get to the dyno, before I take it to faster proms at Jeremy's. Man, we're getting close. We're getting super close. So the next few videos I'll probably do are going to be installing the fuel system. But for you guys that are interested in just the LS swap fuel system, I mentioned this before, I'm using 4th gen lines from the 4th gen tank down to the T-block, and then 3rd gen feed line all the way. So it's all stock lines until it gets to the rail, and there's one custom adapting it from the hard line to the rail. So it's a pretty cool setup, and it's super cheap. Instead of, man, I didn't realize once you start buying all these fittings, this stuff gets expensive. So I'll do a separate video on just the LS Swap Basics playlist and kind of show you how I did that fuel system in case you want to actually go that route. It's a big time saver, and I think it's a really cool, like I said, I think I kind of pioneered that just by accident by using the 4th gen T-block, and the return is actually in the tank for the 4th gen, just like the LS1 stuff is. So that's today's video, guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you can, help support the channel. We made that big milestone of 1,000 here over the last week or so. This year, I want to be aggressive, and let's see if we can get that number up there this year. I really appreciate it. If this is helpful to you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll check you on the flip side.